Welcome back, everybody. Sportsnaut, Scott Gulbransen, along with our NFL managing editor, David Kull. We're here to talk about the divisional playoffs. That's right, the divisional round this weekend coming up. Just great games. We're down to 8 teams, and our game of the week, of course, is going to be the Buffalo Bills hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the first time in his career, believe it or not, has to play a playoff game on the road. We're going to get into that game in just a minute as our game of the week, but we want to touch on a couple other ones here. Obviously, the other 3 games. And David, one that intrigues me is that Baltimore Ravens Houston Texans game. CJ Stroud, that Texans team is just doing so well. Does their luck run out in Baltimore against who will be the MVP of the league? And that, of course, is Lamar Jackson and the Ravens.
Well, I would certainly think so, Scott. But listen, they played each other the first week of the season. It was C.J. Stroud's introduction to the NFL. Hey, you get to play the Baltimore Ravens in your first game, right? The best team in the league right now. And he loses, obviously, in that game. He didn't throw any picks in that game, so that was a good thing. But he's obviously matured over the course of his first season. He's had a record-setting rookie year. And even though I think they're going to lose the game, I think he's going to put up some numbers in that game against that defense. He's the guy right now, Scott. I think he's a franchise quarterback. He's proven that. He's not just the best rookie quarterback that we've seen in a long time. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, period. And I think he's going to show that against Baltimore, even though I think it'll be in a losing effort.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch those two guys go at each other, and that game will be a nice one. The other one is the San Francisco 49ers. They're after their bye week, they get to host the red-hot Green Bay Packers, of course, who went down into Dallas and just created a lot of trouble for the Dallas Cowboys. And Jordan Love has played so well, David. I think their luck runs out in San Francisco. That team is just so dang good, and playing at home is going to help them. But talk about that game a little bit. Is there any shot here for the Packers? What do you think?
I think so. I mean, just because of the way Jordan Love has played. Over the last 9 weeks, 21 touchdown passes, 1 interception. And this was a guy we were thinking back in maybe October. We're thinking, well, I don't know about this guy. He was pretty inaccurate. He had games where he was throwing close to 50% or completing close to 50% of his passes. And we're thinking, can this guy really do it as a first-year starter for the Packers? But then he completely turned his game around. Matt LaFleur figured out how to use him, how to get him in a place where he could succeed, and he's just flourished since that point. He's played the best football probably of any quarterback in the league, especially with those types of numbers. And just look what he did to Dallas last week. He just picked them apart with precision. He just looked phenomenal in that game. And look, he's dangerous. If I'm the 49ers, I'm a little frightened by that. But what he just did against Dallas, a team that had gone into that game undefeated at AT&T Stadium. So
amazing.
So yeah, I think there's a little anxiety there on the 49ers part. Plus, the pressure's on them. They're the number 1 seed. Kyle Shanahan has had some issues in the past, winning the big game. Of course, the Super Bowl, they were up by 10 points in the fourth quarter. They lost. They were up by 10 points on the Rams in the NFC Championship game last time we were there. They lost. So there's pressure on the 49ers to come through in that game. And so I think it'll be a great game. I think the 49ers will win. They're back to full health. They got Christian McCaffrey back from a calf injury. So, and some other guys as well, Eric Armstead, Jawan Jennings. So I think at full strength, with Shanahan having an extra week to prepare, I think the 49ers will win that game.
Yes, I agree with you there. Also, the other NFC game that we'll talk about real quick, one that fascinates me actually, is, of course, the Detroit Lions. One of the great stories in the NFL. Haven't had a winning season, I should say, a playoff wins in 30 years. They finally get that against the Rams, edging them by a point. And of course, they haven't had a championship since 1957. By the way, go read our own Vincent Frank's story about the last time the Lions were champions and all the different things that were happening in the world. It's a great piece up on sportsnaut.com. But David, I actually, in our expert picks for the site amongst the editors and writers, I'm actually picking Tampa Bay to go in there and upset the Lions. 20-6, the Lions beat them earlier in the year. And the Buccaneers defense was much different then. The Buccaneers defense has come along really, really well. You saw what they did in the first round of the playoffs against the Philadelphia Eagles, despite the Eagles kind of self-destructing. Am I wrong in that one? You think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy because, look, the Bucs were 4-7 at one point during the season. 4-7. And here they are in the divisional round. They're one of the final 4 teams in the NFC. Are you kidding me? So, and a lot of credit to Baker Mayfield. Look at the way that guy has played this year. It's his 4th team in 3 seasons. and yet he's really flourished. He's excelled there with Tampa Bay, and he's gotten them into this position. And just kudos to him, former number 1 pick, and here he goes into Detroit against another former number 1 pick, Jared Goff. These are two guys that kind of have a chip on their shoulder a little bit because, Goff drafted by the Rams, gets traded from the Rams. Baker Mayfield drafted by the Cleveland Browns, gets traded from them to Carolina. So these are guys that got jettisoned by their former teams and are trying to have found homes with other teams. And so, yeah, they have that little chip going into this game. But I don't think you're crazy at all. The way the Bucs defense has played, the way Baker Mayfield has played, this is going to be a great game. I still think the Lions are going to win the game. I think they're a better team all the way around. They're more balanced. They're playing at home. I love Dan Campbell. I love what just the attitude that he brings to that city and to that team. And I think they're going to come out on top in that game.
Yeah, it's hard not to root for them. And like you said, Baker Mayfield, 4,400 yards this season. I mean, his best season ever. And so you have to appreciate that. All right, now to our game of the week. This is the big one, folks. It is the Buffalo Bills. They're hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. And as I said at the beginning of the show, Patrick Mahomes, David, has never played a road playoff game in his career. They've won 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, but no playoff games. Now he's got to go to Buffalo. They're expecting bad weather yet again. Hey, it's Buffalo. Shout out to the folks in Buffalo. You're very, very robust people. But now that game is going to be interesting because the Chiefs defense continues to play well. Of course, the first game, the wild card game, they get past it there. Their offense does better. You see Rashee Rice, the rookie, come out and do really, really well. But now they got to go into Buffalo, and Josh Allen is on fire. When you look at this game, in the history of these two teams, talk about that and how that story underneath it all just makes it amazing and fascinating. Well,
first of all, the point you just made earlier about Patrick Mahomes playing his first road game this weekend. He's played at 2 neutral sites for Super Bowls, of course. Right. But his first road game is pretty amazing, I think, because Mahomes is in the playoffs every single year, and to find out that out, or for us to discover that, it's just an amazing stat or amazing thought about going into this game. And with this game, these two teams, they seem to play every year. They played earlier this season. They have that 20-17 game where the Chiefs are driving for a touchdown, and there's the pass to Kelsey and the lateral to Kadarius Toney, and it's an amazing touchdown. But he gets called offside, so it gets negated completely, and the Buffalo survives. It comes out of that with a victory. 2 years ago in the playoffs, they played an epic game at Arrowhead. It was 42-36. The Chiefs won that game, but only because they won the toss for overtime. Yeah, they won the coin flip because it was a back and forth battle between Josh Allen and Mahomes, and it was going to come down to who has the ball last. Because they were unstoppable in that game. Fourth quarter, they were just trading blows. So it was like watching a great heavyweight slugfest. Yeah. And that's what it was. And I hope we get to see something like that again this weekend. And I think with Mahomes now, the difference now with Mahomes, I think going into this game, first of all, they're both great cold weather teams. Yeah. Okay? They're probably the 2 best cold weather teams left. We know Miami's not a cold weather team. We saw that last week. But the 2 best cold weather teams, and the difference between this game and the last game to me is Rashee Rice, because I think he's a go-to guy now for Mahomes. I think Mahomes trusts him. He had a fantastic game last week against Miami, and so I think if he shows up in this game and he's a reliable target for Mahomes, we might see another heavyweight slugfest just like the last one 2 years ago. Yeah, I agree with you. I think despite the weather, I know the weather makes it difficult, kind of slows down the game a little bit, but I think these teams are going to score against each other a lot. I think they're going to go out and do that. As good as the Chiefs defense has been at times, you look at what Josh Allen's been doing over the last 6 weeks, David, and it's remarkable. You saw the big run he had last weekend, and he just seems to be dialed in ever since. It's crazy to think this, ever since you had the Sean McDermott kind of 9/11 comment controversy with his locker room speech when they were really struggling. It seems to, whatever he said besides that, seems to have worked because this team, despite the injuries on defense, despite the challenges with coaches and having to change offensive coordinators, it just seems like they're dialed in. And we said it a couple weeks ago, I wouldn't want to play the Bills in the playoffs, and now here they are in the divisional round. They are the single hottest team in football right now, and it's mostly because of Josh Allen. They rise and fall with Josh Allen. That guy, to me, is the best football player in the NFL overall. Yeah. It's just, which Josh Allen are you going to get? Because he leads the NFL in touchdowns. He had 44 during the regular season, 6 more than the next guy in the league. That was 29 passing, 15 running. And yet he also is he was second in interceptions this year.
Sure.
So he's either a touchdown waiting to happen or he's a turnover waiting to happen. And so for the Buffalo Bills to win that game, he's got to be the touchdown Josh Allen. And if he is, now I just wrote a piece for Sportsnaut about Josh Allen, where one defensive coach, prominently Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins, compared him to John Elway. John Elway had a similar skill set to Josh Allen. Not as big as Josh Allen, because Josh Allen was 6'5", 237. John Elway was 6'3", 215. But still, very similar in terms of their ability to break out of the pocket and run. Elway didn't run as much, but he could. And he had just a bazooka of an arm. So, and we know that Elway finished with 2 Super Bowl victories at the end of his career. So to compare him favorably to a guy like Elway just speaks to just how great Josh Allen can be when Josh Allen is on.
Yeah, it's a great piece. Make sure you go up to sportsnaut.com and check that one out. The comparison in Vic Fangio's words there, remarkable stuff. So don't miss that one. All right, David. So this game, okay, you got to make your prediction now. Bills, Chiefs. I like the Bills because they're at home, but you look at Patrick Mahomes and he just seems to always pull a rabbit out of a hat. What do you think goes down here?
I think it's going to be the Bills too. I think just because, as we referred to at the beginning of the podcast, talked about the fact that Mahomes has not played on the road. So he's played in the cold at Arrowhead, but not in the cold at Highmark Stadium. So I think that's going to be the difference in this game. The Bills playing in front of their home crowd. I think the Bills come out on top in this game and go to the AFC Championship game.
Yep. No, I'm there with you. It's going to be fun to watch. Another great weekend as the weekends with NFL football start to dwindle, folks. I know it's that time of the year. It's exciting, but at the same time, you start to see the end of the road for the season. And you start to get a little depressed about that, but that's okay. We'll be here. We'll be here covering football for you at sportsnaut.com all year round under the guise of David Kull here, who is our managing editor in the NFL. So make sure you check out Sportsnaut and all the NFL coverage this weekend for the playoff games, leading into the playoff games. Some great content. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that notifications bell so you know when there's a new video. And make sure you give us a thumbs up there. We would appreciate it as well. Thank you guys for being with us. David, as always, we appreciate it. Next week, we'll be talking about the championship games.
I can't wait, Scott. I can't wait.
All right. For David Kull, I am Scott Gulbransen from Sportsnaut. Thanks for being with us, and we'll check you out next week.